guys, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time here, hi, my name is Dana. I upload new videos every single Sunday, and whenever I can, I like to add a couple extra per week in there. So now is a great time to subscribe to my channel to stay on top of all of my new videos. Also, if you're new to the tea journey, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. I recently wrote an ebook all about the basics of tea. I always have it linked in the description box, so if you're interested, it will always be there for you. But I decided to do this kind of series to sort of like go along with it, like to kind of supplement the book and get into a little more detail and show some like visuals on all of the different tea types. So I'm kind of walking through each tea type and talking about the way they're processed, how they're grown, how they're made, and how we can best enjoy them at home. So for today's video, I'm gonna be doing matcha. I'm so excited to talk about matcha because there is so much to say. So I guess let's just get right into it. So my last video in this series was all about green tea, and matcha is a green tea, but it honestly just needs its own section because it is so awesome. Matcha is honestly the most beneficial tea you could drink. So if you're looking to get like the wellness benefits out of tea, matcha is the best you could do because it has 10 times the antioxidants of any other tea. So it's known to help with things like weight loss, inflammation. It's very anti-inflammatory, full of antioxidants, L-theanine, which gives you a really nice calming effect and is found in all tea, but more of it is in matcha than any other tea. Chlorophyll, nutrients, literally everything, and even extra caffeine. So if you're looking for a tea that's going to caffeinate you or a tea that's going to help aid in weight loss or health and wellness, matcha is the absolute best. So technically matcha is Japanese green tea, but here's what makes it different. If you watched my last video, it was all about green tea and we sort of split off into Japanese green tea versus Chinese green tea. And matcha is something that they do in Japan. So this process kicks off right where the Japanese green tea process ended. So the last step when Japanese green tea is processed is that they steam the leaves to lock in all those antioxidants, that beautiful color, and to stop the oxidization. After the tea leaves are steamed, they wait for them to completely cool, and then they remove the stems and veins. So if you look at like a leaf from a tree outside, you're holding it by the stem and you can see that the stem runs through and then splits off into like veins. So when they make matcha, they're taking the stem out and all of those veins and they're left only with the actual leaf. So anything that's like harder, like the stems and veins, is gone and you're just left with the soft, pure leaf, which is called the tencha. Traditionally, this was done by hand, so matcha can be crazy expensive, and that might be why. Also because the tea leaves are shaded for a certain amount of time per year, like they're grown really carefully as well. Also, like this was a process done by hand, like removing the stems and veins from those little leaves. And then after the stems and veins are removed and discarded, they're left with just the tencha, and they put that into a stone mill and grind it up into really fine powder. So what this does and why this is so beneficial is when you're preparing the tea, normally we have our cup, we have an infuser inside our cup, and we pour the water over the tea leaves, let it steep, and then we remove the infuser and throw away the leaves. But with matcha, you're whisking the powder into the water. You're not removing any leaves. You're consuming the actual powder. So this preparation allows you to consume the entire tea leaf instead of just steeping it into water, discarding the leaves, and drinking like the infused water. Instead, you're literally consuming the actual tea leaf, and that's how you're getting such high levels of antioxidants and every other benefit, because this is the only preparation of the tea leaf that allows you to consume it wholly. A lot of people like matcha in the context of like desserts, like matcha ice cream or matcha paki, things like that. and you're not getting the benefits from that because you're having like dairy with it and sugar and all things that obviously aren't great for you. And also there are a lot of flavored matchas, which I have some that I'll show you, but that are loaded with sugar. If you go to like Starbucks to get a matcha latte, it is gonna be loaded with sugar because there's sugar already in the mix and it's combined into one powder. So when you're looking for matcha, you do want to make sure, if you want to drink it for the health benefits, you want to make sure that the only ingredient is matcha. And whether it's really high, like ceremonial grade and very expensive and fancy, or like the less expensive kind, you're still gonna get those antioxidants. So from there, it's kind of a preference mostly of taste. Pure matcha does have a really, really strong grassy vegetal taste. It's not a taste everybody loves. It's definitely an acquired taste, but I have found it so worth acquiring. When I worked at David's Tea and I was able to drink tea all day for free, every day I would work, I would have a cup of matcha, and then I had some at home too. So I would do like a matcha shot every day, no matter where I was. And I really do believe it helped me lose weight. I lost a lot of weight over that time, and of course since my wedding I have gained it all back, but more the reason for me to get to start getting back into matcha. But I really do believe that drinking matcha every day helped to accelerate my weight loss, and it just gave me an extra boost. Like, of course I was doing things like exercising and like being mindful of my calorie intake and trying to eat healthy and eat right. But I do really believe that the matcha gave me like an extra little edge. And also I felt like it made my skin look really beautiful. Just matcha, like, it doesn't taste great on its own, but it's so worth it to consume it. Okay, so now let's get into making some matcha. I have these little like instant packet things. They're pure matcha, but they come in this little single-use thing. And I don't normally buy this, but I bought it when I was like taking photos for my book because I needed some really beautiful fresh matcha and I didn't have any on hand. So I just went to Whole Foods and I got this. It's Aya brand Matcha to Go. And I actually really like it because of course it's just plain, it's ceremonial grade matcha. I like that it comes in the little single-use thing, which I normally wouldn't like. I prefer like as little packaging as possible normally, but I find with matcha, it is really hard to keep it fresh for a long time when you have it in a tin, because to keep tea fresh, you want to keep out all of the light and all of the air as best as possible. So I keep most of my tea in like tins like this, but I just feel like matcha goes like less fresh a lot quicker than other teas. So I actually like the concept of matcha in these little packets because I mean they're easy to bring somewhere if you needed to, but for me it's more for the freshness factor. You just open it up and drink it right there. So as soon as you're exposing it to light and air, you're drinking it. So you're not like opening and closing it and letting light and air in and saving it for another time. It's like a one-time use where it's perfectly fresh when you open it and drink it, and then your next cup is another one, so it's perfectly fresh. So as much as I don't like waste and I don't like making garbage, I don't actually regret buying these. This is my last one that I have out of that box because me and my husband really enjoyed them. So I'm gonna be using this one today. And then I have this bamboo whisk. I made a video a while back all about like how to make matcha with a bowl and whisk, and then I don't have a fancy matcha bowl. I just have a regular old bowl. Any bowl works. Honestly, any whisk works. So if you don't have a bamboo whisk but you have a kitchen whisk, you can use that. It's not as ideal, but it still obviously works. All right, so we opened this guy up, and now I'm just gonna pour it right into our bowl. And you can kind of get a good look at the matcha powder. It's this beautiful bright green color, and it's powder. So sometimes people think matcha is like instant tea or like unhealthy because like the format of like a powder, you think of like Crystal Light and like Kool-Aid and stuff, you know what I mean? So people don't realize that matcha is actually the best way to consume tea for benefits, and sometimes think it's like a weird instant tea or something. But we have our matcha in there. Sometimes I like to sift it like through a like mesh thing, like one of those like where you, when you bake and you make like, you get flour and you kind of sift it through a mesh thing to break up all the clumps. So clumps are the worst in a cup of matcha, so I definitely recommend doing that if you don't have a nice bamboo whisk especially. But yeah, we have our matcha right in there. And matcha just has such a distinct smell and flavor. It is gonna be like pretty powerful and grassy. So I do like to do mine concentrated with like a little bit of water, just so I can do it fast because I don't love the taste. But for today's purposes, I'm gonna be making like hopefully close to a full cup just to show you. But if I was gonna make this as a shot, I would just use less water, same amount of matcha, because I still want to get all those benefits and nutrients in. So you want to use water that is pretty cool for matcha. You don't want to boil your water because it will burn like the little delicate tea leaves and it'll taste bitter then. So you want your water warm but not really hot. You just want like a little bit of heat so it can combine really nice, but you don't want like a piping hot cup of matcha because it's gonna burn the tea leaves and taste bad. I have some water that I heated at the green tea setting and then it's been sitting for a while, so it should be pretty cool. And I'm gonna start by pouring just a teeny tiny bit because I like to first make it into like a paste. So this is what I have so far. Just a little bit of water. So I'm just gonna whisk into a little paste, just so it'll combine nicer. And with the bamboo whisk, I like it because you can really get up on the sides of the bowl and it really does help to like break up the clumps and everything. So I go kind of around and then you want to kind of vigorously go back and forth. And I just like to make sure I'm going around so I'm catching all the clumps, like anything that's not like incorporated, I like to go around and kind of catch it, but you sort of want to go back and forth. At first it feels like really hard to do that, but I developed what I call matcha muscles when I worked at David's Tea. It's like a really like swift movement, it's like muscle memory really. Like at first it's kind of hard to get like the wrist motion, and honestly it doesn't really matter as long as like you like what you're drinking and you don't get those gross clumps, or if you don't mind the clumps, you know, whatever. But for me, like I really wanted to learn the perfect motion, and then I'm gonna add a little more. See, I like to do just a little at a time because it's just my preference. Like look how beautiful this color is. Look at that. It's so pretty. Also with matcha, you want a nice like froth on top, so it'll get some nice bubbles. It's so exciting. Matcha's so fun to make. Like I really do need to get back into it. The only reason I haven't is because it's expensive. If I had the money to drink matcha every day, can you imagine like doing this ritual? Like it kind of forces you, if you were to drink this every day, it kind of forces you to just take a minute and just like do something really mindful, you know? Because with tea, like, of course it's still a ritual to put your tea in the infuser and pour the water over, but I feel like it's even more of a ritual to do this because you do have to be mindful. You know, you have to look at it, you have to like make sure you don't have clumps, and like just visually it's really beautiful too. I really want to get back into doing this every day. But here's kind of how it looks now. And I'm gonna go ahead and pour it into our cup. I can always add a little more water once it's in the cup if I need to, but I know that there are no clumps. It's perfect right now. So I gotta be extra careful because this is just a regular bowl. There's no like spout on it or anything. And I just have a feeling I'm gonna like spill it all over, but I'll be extra careful. So I'm just gonna pour it right into my cup. Oh, there we go. That wasn't so bad, actually. See, and this is like a teeny tiny amount. Like this is probably, I would do maybe even a little less than this and like probably drink it from like a little shot glass if I were doing it like on my own time. But since I have you guys with me, I'm going to add some more water. So I'm making like a proper full cup. So I'm just gonna add it right in there. And ta-da! We have a beautiful green cup of matcha. Look at that color. Like, just look, it's so beautiful. The year I worked at David's Tea, when Pantone came out with the color of the year, it was like Kermit the Frog green, or like, it was like this beautiful vibrant green that was like exactly this color. So I was like, oh yes, the color of the year is matcha. So it was really exciting. Another thing is you kind of want to drink matcha quickly because since it is powder, it can settle on the bottom. So sometimes like that last sip of matcha, you're kind of choking down like powder. I like to drink it at home too. So I mean, if that does happen, I can add more water and just kind of like swirl it around and, you know, shoot that last sip. Either way, I do like to drink it quickly. So let's go ahead and give it a sip. Yeah, it's definitely an acquired taste. It's honestly tasting pretty good to me today though. Yeah, it has like a very, very green taste, like a green vegetable. It has like a super green flavor to it. If you do prefer to drink matcha as a latte, I'm not really sure, honestly, about the benefits. Like, I mean, if you used pure matcha and just had it like with some milk and maybe added like a stevia or something, I think you're probably still getting some benefits because there's still antioxidants, there's still chlorophyll, nutrients, that's all still in there. But I have heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I have heard that when you consume matcha with dairy, the dairy like coats your stomach and doesn't allow the benefits of the matcha to absorb. I read an article about that once and I don't really know how true it is, but for me, like, I just don't prefer it with milk anyway. I don't really love matcha in like a desserty context because I like savory teas. I like some desserty teas, but for matcha, I don't like it in that context. I just like it on its own. See, like, I haven't had it in a while, so honestly, I was expecting to kind of hate it and be like, ugh, and like try to have to like disguise my face and be like, that's good. But I mean, it is an acquired taste, but like it doesn't taste bad to me. One time David's Tea did something crazy and came out with a kale matcha. Yes, kale, the leafy green vegetable. So it was probably one of the only flavored matchas I liked from David's Tea because it didn't have any sugar. And it was literally like matcha and kale ground in the same way as matcha. So it was just a green powder, but it had like a kale taste. And that sounds so gross to drink kale, but I actually liked it. It tasted like kale chips and it really played into that savory tea thing that I enjoy. So I know that's not something they would probably ever even think to bring back, but it was probably my favorite flavored matcha I've ever had. So I thought next it would be fun to look at the matcha I do have in my collection. Like I said, I haven't bought any like pure matcha besides the packets I used today in quite a while because it's really expensive. But I do have a lot that I kind of have been sort of given. I'll just show you what I have. So the one that I have that's not from David's Tea, besides the one that I'm drinking now, is this one from Tea by Daniel. And it's called Glitter and Golden Milk. It's meant to be a latte mix. And it's really cool because it has turmeric and ginger. The only thing I don't like is there's sugar in it. I feel like if there wasn't sugar, this would be like something I'm obsessed with, but there is like sugar as the last ingredient. But otherwise it's stone ground green tea, turmeric and ginger, which would be right up my alley. So I just have to kind of get past that little bit of sugar. In the same kind of note, I have David's Tea's Golden Turmeric Matcha. I did buy this about a year ago. I've had this one about a year, and this is sort of the same kind of thing. It's meant to be made into like a golden milk turmeric thing, and it has coconut water powder, which, how is that? Like, what is that? Like, that's a weird ingredient to me. Matcha, turmeric powder, and black pepper powder. So this one doesn't have sugar, but it does have the kind of weirdness from the coconut water powder. So it does have a bit of a sweetness, but I only have like a teeny little bit left. So I'm sure I'll finish this soon. But this one I feel like I would be pretty likely to actually drink because it's not super sweet or anything. It's not a desserty context. But then I do have two that are. This one is maple matcha. I got this one when I worked at David's Tea, so it's you know, it's probably not great that I still have it. And you can tell like the color is a little bit different. Like it's not as bright and beautiful green as it was before, but also it does have sugar in it. And honestly, I like the combination of the maple with the matcha, but again, it's just like the desserty thing is not really my favorite. But I did make like a matcha ice cream out of this once, and that was kind of cool. So I'm glad I have it. And then I bought peach matcha for my mom a while back, and she just doesn't really drink it. She used to like this iced, and this one is just like, it's matcha with peach flavoring and cane sugar, but the first ingredient is cane sugar. So this one honestly is more sugar than anything else. But as far as the flavored ones, I do really like the peach. It's like a nice combination. It tastes like almost like a peach gummy, but with like that matcha note. It's interesting. So there are a lot of different ways you can get your matcha in. Like I said, I like to do mine as a shot or just like a regular cup of tea. But a lot of people do like to blend it in with a smoothie, and that's a nice way to like kind of hide the flavor if you really don't like it. It's nice that you could just throw it into a smoothie with like some fruit and stuff and still get that benefit. And you might get a little bit of the taste, but it's the same as like blending spinach and stuff. Like there might be that green taste, but with like banana and strawberry and things like that, it's not really so pronounced. David's Tea had a bunch of teas too that I love that were like dusted with matcha. So it was like a regular tea that you steep in an infuser, but it was like kind of coated in like a layer of matcha powder, so you were getting both in. I really loved that. I'm not sure how much matcha you actually get when you drink those, but I really like that. And I like that subtle like hint of that matcha flavor. Another thing sort of in that vein that I would do, say I wanted a peach matcha. If I was like, I'm really craving matcha with peach, I think that sounds really good. What I would probably do would be I would take a peach herbal tea and just make like a cup of tea and then use that tea to make my matcha. So you know how we poured like a little water into the bowl with it and whisked it and we did water? Instead, I would use like a peach tea, or say I wanted like strawberry matcha, I would do like a strawberry tea and like whisk it into tea instead of water. Or honestly, you could do the same thing with like lemonade. Like if you wanted a like matcha lemonade, you could always do that. You could mix matcha in with anything, and I think that's the cool thing about it. And I think that's also why I'm more like in support of buying just plain matcha, because then you know you're getting all those benefits. But also if you really did want to do something special, like make a latte or like mix it with different flavors, or even like add vanilla extract or something and do like a vanilla matcha, you know, like you could really do anything with matcha. You could really mix it in with anything you want, and you're still getting those benefits. Except, you know, of course, the desserty things like the Pocky and everything else, like those are really fun. Like matcha cheesecake, things like that taste really good and they're really fun, and it's an interesting flavor profile. You know, it's like another fun desserty thing, but you're not really getting the benefits there. You could just drink it for the taste if you want to. If you wanted to make like a really fun, like maybe matcha milkshake or something like that, and you enjoy the taste, I mean, go for it. But you could always just buy a pure matcha and do anything with it. You could add sugar, you could add milk, you could bake with it. So really the sky is the limit with matcha. But personally, I love it for all of the amazing benefits. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning all about the basics of matcha. Matcha honestly was like such a special part of my life when I was going through my health journey, and now that I'm kind of hoping to get healthier again, I'm hoping to kind of get back into it. So I feel like this sort of lit that spark for me, being able to sit and talk about it and talk about all of the amazing benefits and just all about matcha. I feel like it really did like reignite that sort of matcha spark for me. I've been loving filming this little series for you guys, and the next one will be oolong, which is another one of my favorite kinds of tea. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let me know your favorite way to drink matcha. Do you do matcha smoothies? Do you like matcha ice cream? Do you, like me, just like a straight matcha or a matcha shot? Let me know. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.